Have you ever looked at your body after 40 and thought, what is actually happening right now? You may have found that the workouts that you were once doing are no longer working. You may have found that the way you've been eating hasn't really shifted, but there's been major shifts happening in your body. Maybe you're feeling more bloated. Maybe you're feeling like you're craving extra things that you used to never crave. Maybe energetically, you just feel exhausted all the time. Or perhaps the way that you've been handling life all of a sudden feels even more stressful. Raise your hand if you felt like that. And the worst part is, everybody keeps saying that you need to move more and eat less. Your body is actually not broken, your body is changing. And not just your body physically, there are major shifts happening in your brain. Your whole system is going through like a rebrand, if we can call it that. Big things are happening. So if you feel like this is you, stick around because I'm going to talk about the three things that nobody seems to be talking about. These are the things that I myself found myself struggling with a few years back when I woke up and I realized what is actually happening to me. I don't feel like I recognize myself anymore. I'm going to give you three practical things that you can start doing. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is Crystal, and I am super excited to get into this topic because a few years back, I woke up one day and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, what happened? What happened? I hadn't really shifted anything much when it came to my workout. The way that I have eaten didn't really shift, but I found my body, like my hunger had changed, and I found myself craving more sweets. I found myself more exhausted, which is probably why I was craving more sweets, even though when it came to my energy levels, I hadn't really shifted anything. Like I'm somebody who tries to maintain a really solid sleep hygiene routine. I just found myself even more exhausted. Come to find out, I had low iron and there were other deficiencies when it came to my blood work that I made shifts on. But I'm doing this video because I want to talk about something that I didn't even realize that I was in, and many women my age still do not know. I'm going to talk about perimenopause and the shifts that come with being in perimenopause. I'm going to speak from my experience as I always do. So again, seek medical advice. I'm not a medical professional. I am simply a friend walking this path with you. And I want you to take up more space in your body and in your life and to feel like yourself again. I'm going to talk about it. So perimenopause, we're actually now hearing more and more what perimenopause is. I've been following many different podcasts, many different doctors. I'm really happy that the word is actually getting out. I'll just give you a quick breakdown of what perimenopause is. And again, speak to your professionals. Perimenopause is actually something that happens approximately 7 to 10 years prior to menopause. Menopause would be considered when you go a full 12 months without a bleed. Perimenopause will start anywhere between 7 to 10 years prior. On average, menopause ranges to be about 50 to 52 years old. And so if we do the math, you could very well be in perimenopause in your late 30s. So for me, when I turned 45, there were major shifts that I found within my body. And I recall standing in front of the mirror and just being like, who am I? Like, not just physically with the body, but like even in my mind. Like, I didn't recognize myself. I found that all of the spinning plates that I have been used to spinning for so long, metaphorically, felt way more taxing on my body. I had exhaustion through the roof and rage, a lot of rage. And back then, I had no clue that this was, in fact, perimenopause. And so, perimenopause, what it tends to do is when it comes to the hormonal shifts in our body, there will be many different changes that happen that impact all kinds of things. At the beginning of starting to study this perimenopause journey to understand like what is actually happening to me, I had no clue to what extent that estrogen plays like the important role it plays within many different structures in our body. I think as of yet, it's linked to 400 different systems. I We know that estrogen is neuroprotective of the brain, it is protective of the heart, it is protective for the bone and the muscle, and many, many, many different things. For anybody here that's following, I would definitely recommend you watch the documentary M for Menopause, I believe it was. It was on PBS. Here in Canada, I had to wait almost an extra year before I could see that documentary, but it was life giving. So, therefore, I had no clue the disruption that tends to happen to the system when there is this major transition with our estrogen, that decline. And it's not going to be a steady decline. So, that is something else that I was not aware of. I thought it was, which makes sense. Nothing in life is linear, but I literally didn't realize that it was like riding the waves. And I can tell you, it definitely is. Talk about the three major shifts that I found for myself that were impacted drastically. Number one was my metabolism. Again, there were days where I felt like I was a hungry, hungry hippo. I tended to be craving a lot of foods that I typically wouldn't eat. If you've been here for any long time, you know that I've talked about my disordered eating patterns that I worked through and healed and shifted and all of the things. And so when I talk about changes in my metabolism and changes in the hunger that I was having, it was literally that. Like I would eat and then I would right away feel like I needed to have some sugar or I needed more, like more food, even though I had just ate. Second thing that really impacted me was how I was managing stress. The responsibilities that I found myself holding, right, on all these different spinning plates felt very unmanageable for my for my mind overall. It felt a taxing on my body. I- it was just a burden. Things just felt like a burden, like paying the bills, like getting the groceries, like all of a sudden it just felt super overwhelming. Even just completing my everyday job, going to work felt like a challenge. I felt like I was dragging myself out of bed, even though I technically should have gotten enough sleep. I felt like I had not enough sleep. Now, here is where I would definitely say make sure that you're getting some lab work done, not necessarily to check your hormone levels, because let's be honest, they would need to really check on a day-to-day basis for a month at least to have like a baseline. What I would ask you to do is to explore getting lab work done just so you can see where you may have some deficiencies. You know, could it be vitamin D? Could it be iron? I found out I was iron deficient. My iron was excessively low. So that makes sense why I was so tired. But again, how did that happen, right? Like stress does a roll to the body. And so I was struggling hard with the stress and definitely how I viewed myself. I didn't recognize myself. And I'm not speaking from a point of looking at myself like my reflection in the mirror. I'm really speaking to the fact of who was I? You know, I'm at a point in my life where I'm realizing I'm in my late 40s now, you know, who am I and what am I doing and what do I want to do and what do I want to continue doing? I want you to know that midlife is not the beginning of a decline. Like it doesn't have to be this way. I think that we could change the language and be more proactive in the decisions that we decide to make going forward. There is a saying that they say the best time to start was yesterday, the second best time to start would be now. And so here are some strategies, some things, practical things that you could start implementing right now to make these shifts. So, number one, I would definitely tell you to start focusing on your strength via resistance training. As we age, we are naturally going to see a decline in our overall muscle and our overall strength. Muscle is metabolically protective. This will also help with your metabolism. It will help with your skeletal bone health. It'll help with everything. Like, if we can preserve as much muscle as we can, that is the best thing. Two would be to support your nervous system. Listen, I think at this point in our lives, with the decline in estrogen, we have a lot less tolerance. Um, it's just a fact. And so we need to be asking for the support that is necessary and taking things off of these spinning plates. I know if you're like me, you're like, no, you don't understand. Like, I run my life a certain way. It's always been like that. You can always do what you've always done. I would just ask you, how is this working for you right now in this phase? See, we're going to go through this chaotic period of our lives. It's not going to be like this forever, but it's going to be really imperative that we begin to listen to our body. And so for me, this looks like when I wake up, if I have scheduled a workout, but I had a crappy night's sleep, I'm not necessarily going to push myself hard in the gym, or I may just decide to sleep an extra hour and not beat myself up for it, right? I might switch my workout from being early morning to later in the day or later in the week. Now, this is where we really need to hold ourselves accountable and have high standards for what we want the future version of us to show up like in the world. And so I'm really big on honoring my word. And so if I can't get a workout in today, I'm not going to make it mean anything about me. However, I'm rescheduling it in like it's an important meeting, because it is. So I'm going to reschedule it in my week or in my calendar in whatever way that I can, because I want to honor my word, I want to honor my standards, and I want to honor that version of myself in the near-ish future and how I want to show up. And so, I think it's really important to do this at the same time, honoring the energy, the energetic output you have. I know for myself, if I'm feeling really tired, I need to honor that, because I don't want to break my body down more, because then I risk getting sick or burning myself out. And so I'm just being kinder to myself. So maybe instead of doing like a hardcore workout, I'm getting in a nice walk. Walking is an underrated tool to nervous system care. And so I'm going to swap things out, right? Maybe instead of getting myself to the gym, I'm just getting myself out for a nice walk. I like to do breath work. I like to do journaling, taking time for myself, really, instead of just doom scrolling, journaling or reading a book or coloring, something different. And so honoring your nervous system to really just offload that extra stress is going to be imperative. I'm somebody that I love doing somatic workouts. I love doing breath work. And so you're going to need to explore what would work for you. Check out my other video where I really give different ideas of what you can do for nervous system care. But I think it's really important that you begin to slow the pace when it's necessary. There's a saying that says slow down to speed up. And I really do believe that if we honor that in those moments where we don't have as much energy, it'll come back. Like, we get to just like replenish it and then it'll come back. And so, yeah, managing our stress is going to be huge. That could even look like going to bed even earlier than you had planned because you're tired. The last thing that I would say is please stop fighting your body. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your body. We are simply going through a different change of life. We're going through the changes. And so, honoring that, um, it's easy to look at our bodies and like the energy output we had and how we showed up in our life when we were in our 20s and when we were in our 30s and maybe even early 40s. But things change. And so I honestly believe that this journey can be so empowering if we really let our body show us what it needs. Our bodies hold such innate wisdom, and fighting it never works. And so learning to just listen to what your body needs, and giving it what it needs, you know, hydration, sunshine, managing the stress, sleep are going to be so beneficial to your overall care of this human that you have. Like this, you're human, honoring your human. It's important. By learning to honor our human, we're going to learn to how to work with the body versus fight with the body. And I think that that could be such a different approach. I think that we need to take the pressure off of ourselves. Trust me, our bodies are going through enough stress and chaos and change that we don't need to be adding extra pressure. If you're somebody that has also found yourself on this journey, hey, drop a hi in the comments. Let me know how it's going for you and what you're struggling with. And I am going to, on the next video, talk more about food noise for the woman over 40. And I'm going to explain it in a different capacity so that you feel more empowered. But again, you are not broken. You're not broken. Okay. We're just going through the changes. And this is something we never spoke about before. I feel like things are now slowly starting to shift. People are speaking more and more about their journeys. And so this is why I'm here sharing my journey, because it literally felt like it. Thanks for being here. As always, be brave, be bold, be you.